Have you gotten to that point of self-improvement where you know all the good things you should be doing, but you don't do them? It's almost as if you'd be better off if you never even knew about the good habits in the first place. Because right now you're in a stage where you're doing as many bad habits as you were before you knew about self-improvement, but at least back then you weren't tearing yourself apart inside because of it. It's even worse when you look around and you look at the people who aren't doing the good habits that you're trying to do, or who aren't trying to do the good habits that you're trying to do. The people your age who are more socially successful, who seem to be happier, living a better life than you. But they're not even trying. They're not on self-improvement. They go out every weekend. They drink. They watch all the bad things online that you shouldn't be watching. They smoke and all of that. They're not even trying hard. But they seem to be more successful in every area of your life than you. And you just think to yourself, what's the point of this? Are you in that stage of self-improvement now? Because I think a lot of us do go through it, and as the title of the video says, it is self-improvement hell. Now, what's the solution? Because obviously you know that I'm not going to go back to my old habits, because there's a reason why you left your bad habits in the first place, because they weren't getting you anywhere. And even though in the moment it feels bad looking around, seeing people your age be more successful than you, they're not even trying, you know that long term you're going to be more successful. They aren't going to be in a good place, because those bad habits are going to catch up to them. So we put emotions aside. You put the emotions aside where you feel like, oh, these people aren't doing what, they aren't trying as hard as me, but they're more successful than me. But you put that aside because you know long term it's not sustainable for them, and you know for yourself, that you're not going back. I'm not going back to my old habits, because there's a reason why I left that, because they weren't getting me anywhere. So what's the solution? The solution is understanding behavior change and what causes behavior change. Now, the ultimate self-improvement book that I would recommend for anyone who's on self-improvement generally, but especially someone who's dealing with this problem, right? The problem where you've been on self-improvement for a decent amount of time, you've done sort of the good habits to get like some improvements, but now you really want to get to the point where you're making life-changing improvements. You want to jump to that next level. You don't just want to be enlightened to what self-improvement can do for your life, but you actually want to be that person who's doing all the good habits consistently and getting a trajectory that's like this for like the next couple of years. You want to be consistent and jump to the next level. This book is called Psycho-Cybernetics, and it explains everything to do with behavior change from top to bottom. And just to give you a brief summary of where this guy got the idea to write this book from, he was a plastic surgeon, and he noticed many different customers who'd come to him to get their face fixed, particularly many other areas in their bodies. But people would come to him with insecurities, right? Maybe someone was in a bike accident and like their face, like just they got this massive scar on their face and they feel really insecure about it. What he noticed was that for some people, he would fix their face and their life would completely change. Like they got their confidence back, like they're like, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. And their lives would completely change and they'd never look back. But then for other people, it wouldn't work. They would come back and they'd have the same insecurities. And what he started to realize was the psychology behind this. He noticed that for the people whose faces were changed and they actually changed their identity, what happened was there was an inner dialogue that changed. They fully changed the way they saw themselves. For some people it was, oh, I'm not getting the results I want in my life. I'm not feeling this way because my face is messed up because of the bike accident. Let me fix it. And once they fixed it, their identity completely changed and they never looked back. But for other people, their faces would be changed, but the identity wouldn't. And they'd come back and they'd have the same issues. So basically, speaking of behavior change, there's also this guy called Dr. Joe Dispenza, who I heard about from Chris Williamson. He's actually had him on his podcast. But the particular episode I listened to was on Diary of a CEO, where they spoke about this. And just to tie in what I learned from Dr. Joe Dispenza and what I've learned from Psycho-Cybernetics, what changes or what pushes behavior change is not your logical brain. It's not you listing out, oh, I should be doing the good habits because of this. I should be doing this because if I don't do this, I'm not going to live the life that I want. I'm not going to be in shape. I'm not going to do this. And the reason I want to do this is because of that. No. What pushes behavior change is your emotions, your emotional brain. 95% of what we do is directed by our subconscious, right? It's the reason why you will tell yourself, I'm going to wake up early tomorrow morning and go to the gym because it's good for me, it's good for my mental health, it's good for my physical health, I'm going to get into shape. You can list all the good reasons why I need to get up early and go to the gym. But when the time comes, that bed is just too warm, it's kind of cold outside, you're tired, you just want to stay in, and then you end up sleeping. Or you plan not to eat junk food, you plan to eat very clean, but then that time comes, it's like 3 p.m. or whatever the time is for you, where you normally get the cravings, and the cravings just overtake you and you just raid the kitchen cabinet. Because that's your subconscious brain taking over. Our brains are efficiency machines. They're not designed, it's not efficient, it's not practical for them to think about every single thing that they do. Imagine right now, however you're watching this video, if you're holding your phone, imagine your brain having to practice like every time. Tell yourself, oh, you need to hold the phone like this, your neck should be held like this, and you need to be looking like this. And no, your brain just does things efficiently. Like it learns a certain pattern and then it carries on. And a massive part of that is our identity. Your brain will always make you act in accordance with who it believes you are. So if your brain believes you're somebody who sleeps in the morning, you don't get up early to go to the gym because you're not an athlete, you don't eat clean or anything like that. If your brain truly believes that, it'll make you act in that way. And until you fully change that identity, nothing else is going to change. I want you to picture this identity change in the analogy of swimming upstream versus downstream. Right now, you're really trying to do the good habits. You really are. But it feels like you're swimming upstream. It's a drag to get yourself out of bed to go to the gym. It's a drag to get yourself not to raid the kitchen cabinet. It is a drag just to get yourself to maintain the good habits. And it feels like you're swimming upstream. And what happens to somebody that is swimming upstream? Well, we all know how that story ends. Eventually they're going to get tired and they're going to get washed back and they're going to lose all their progress. And I know your self-improvement journey feels like that because that's how it felt for me. You do all these good habits, you drag yourself to go to the gym 3 days on the week and you eat clean. And then that Wednesday night, raid the kitchen cabinet, don't go to the gym for the rest of the week, and you just eat like crap for the rest of the week. Completely undone all the hard work you've done, and you rinse and repeat every single week. What happens when you change your identity, if you focus on changing your identity to align with who you want to be, is that you change from feeling like you're swimming upstream to feeling like you're swimming downstream. Now all of a sudden, your chances of improvement have not only like completely transformed, but it's easier, it's more fun, right? Instead of focusing on just every single stroke going upstream, now you're going downstream. The current is working with you. You're not getting pushed back, you're flying, and the more you do it, the more momentum you gain. It's almost like you're going too fast. So how do you change that? How do you change from feeling like you're swimming upstream to feeling like you're swimming downstream? The good news is that your subconscious brain can actually be changed. And the way you do this is through visualizations. Before you click off and say, oh, visualizations, I've heard about this again, I really need you to understand the psychology behind visualizations. So they did this study, right? It's the study that I'm going to use this because it's the one that for me, it got to me. I was like, damn, that's insane, right? There were two groups of people who had never touched a basketball in their lives effectively. Like they weren't professional basketball players. They didn't play basketball at all. One group, they made them train 20 minutes a day shooting hoops, like just shooting the ball, practicing, getting good at it. For a week, they did that. For the other group, they didn't touch a basketball. It made them visualize 20 minutes every single day. Visualize themselves shooting the basketball and scoring. You already know where the story is going. At the end of the week, they got the two groups and they got them to battle each other. And the group that did visualizations beat the group that actually practiced. The group that never touched a basketball that whole week performed better than the group that was practicing, physically practicing shooting the ball. It defies logic. But that's how our brains are. And that's how behavior change works. And that's good news. I don't know about you, that's good news to me, because that means we can actually manipulate that to fix the way that we think about ourselves. We can change our identity. So, what do you do from here? I've told you about the visualizations. How do you implement them? How deep should you go with them? The way you should do visualizations, the way I learned it from psycho-cybernetics, was that for 21 days, every single day, you need to spend 30 minutes doing vivid visualizations. This isn't just wishy-washy. Oh, I'm picturing myself being successful, or I picture myself working in the morning. I picture myself doing this. No. It needs to be vivid, because your brain, what we learned from that study that I'm telling you, is that your brain cannot tell the difference between a lived experience and an imagined experience, especially if that imagined experience is very vivid. If it's not vivid, your brain can kind of tell, oh no, you're just kind of thinking about this. But if you do it vividly, your brain can't tell the difference. And that's what we're trying to do with visualizations. Your confidence, your self-identity, your self-image and everything is simply a collection of the stories you tell yourself about yourself. It is a collection of the memories that you've had. And interesting fact about memories, actually, our memories are not precise at all. They are altered over time. It is not like a movie that's been shot and it just stays like that. You see it. You can see it the same way 2 years from now that you will now, or 10 years from now. Our memories are changed. You experience something and your brain tries to recall what happened as accurately as it can, but it's never going to be fully accurate. So even those memories that your self-image is based on, they might be false. Those experiences you had in high school. I know for me, this was something I realized when I was speaking to my friend that I've been friends with since like primary school. There was a time in high school there was a period where I was just like, oh, that people don't like me, like they treat me in a way I don't like they always teasing me and stuff like that. And I kind of threw a tantrum about it. And then, some years later, my friend tells me, he was like, yo, I was really hurt, like when you started acting like that, like when you started cutting me off, basically, because you were my best friend. And in my head, I was like, at that time, it did not feel that way, right? And that's just one example of how memories can be manipulated, right? Like the story you tell about yourself that isn't necessarily accurate. It's not at all. So you need to let go of those stories, right? Another concept I've learned is that your self-confidence is simply a reflection of your reputation with yourself. Your ability to have confidence in yourself to pass a test, is based on your reputation in your other tests, right? Your ability to get into shape is based on your previous record. Your ability to speak in social situations is based on your previous record. I can go on and on, right? It makes sense to you, understand this. Now, what you're doing with visualizations, the way I want you to picture it is, I want you to picture it in a way that you're uploading new memories. You're saying, okay, we have these old memories. I don't like the kind of person they have turned me into. So now I'm uploading new memories the way I want them from start to finish. I'm uploading a new memory about myself. And I'm doing that consistently. That's why he says for 21 days straight, 30 minutes a day, you need to be doing these visualizations. Because it needs to be vivid and it needs to be consistent so that your brain will finally start changing. And then your identity will fall in line with who you want to be. And then your actions will immediately fall in line. Going back to what I was speaking about with the swimming downstream thing. So the way you're supposed to do these visualizations is that for the first 10 days, you're supposed to be working on building a mental movie, right? The way I said, you're uploading new memories. Picture yourself sitting, and this is straight from the book. Picture yourself sitting in the theater and there's a movie being played. And it's a movie about your ideal version and what he will be doing from start to finish of the day, from the moment he wakes up to the moment he goes to sleep. And you're just building that mental movie, and it's fit. I cannot stress enough, it needs to be vivid. I'm talking When you picture yourself in the morning, don't just picture yourself, oh, I'm up, it's 4 a.m., I'm up and I'm going to the gym. No, 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 no. It's 4 a.m., that alarm goes off. And as for, I don't really want to get up. But ideal version of me tells himself, I am an athlete. I get up. I get up and I need to go and train because I'm an athlete. This is who I am. And immediately throws the blanket off and he gets up, turns the alarm off, and he feels that cold. For me, it's winter right now, so I feel that cold. He feels that coldness coming and it doesn't faze him. In fact, he relishes it because he knows he's building his mental fortitude. And he gets up, he puts his slops on, he goes and he switches on the light. The light is really, it's bright in his eyes. And he goes to the bathroom, brushes his teeth, washes his face, whatever, and changes. Like, it is vivid, that vivid. Even if you can use all 5 of your senses, right? If you can feel like, oh, my room smells like this in the morning, or I walk into the bathroom and I smell that detergent that's used in the bathroom, or whatever it is. Vivid. It needs to be vivid. The floor feels like this when I step. It makes this sound. The door normally makes this sound when I open it. You hear that sound because you're trying to you're basically trying to trick your brain, but you're uploading new memories and you're trying to take advantage of the fact that your brain can't tell the difference between a lived experience and an imagined experience. So you do that. You build your mental movie from start to finish. How would the ideal version of you act? And you also need to picture those moments when you get cravings. So if you normally get cravings at like 3 p.m., I want you to picture yourself, 3 p.m., those cravings are coming in. What is the ideal version of yourself? Tell himself, oh, I don't eat these because of this reason, because I'm not this type of person. And you do that over 21 days, you build your identity. So that identity change is what's going to spur you on to stop feeling like, again, the best analogy I heard it from Hamza. Like, from the moment I heard it, I was like, oh, it makes so much sense. You're going to feel like you're going to go from feeling like you're swimming upstream to feeling like you're swimming downstream. Major game changer. Major game changer, and I'm sure you'll know it. Now, if you're anything like me, and maybe you've gotten far in self-improvement, but you really want to like take it to the next level. You want to get to a point where self-improvement isn't something you're thinking about consistently. You don't want to be watching these self-improvement videos. You don't want to be watching, oh, how do I cold approach girls, or how do I do any of that crap. You don't want to be watching any of that stuff. You want to be like those high-level people you see, like maybe like a James Bond, or like I'm mentioning TV characters like a Harvey Specter or whatever it is. You picture that level of a man. Like, you're not watching self-improvement videos, bro. Or even if you want to speak about like real life people, say you look at like, I don't know, Andrew Tate or something, like those types of people, or Jose Zuniga from Teaching Men's Fashion. Like, there's certain, like, they're not watching self-improvement videos. They're just not. And you want to be like that. You want to get to a point where, again, it feels like you're swimming downstream, not upstream. You want to get to a point where you're not thinking about self-improvement, but you're just doing it. It's just who you are. You just live your life a certain way. You just get up in the morning and go to the gym. You're not telling yourself, oh, I need to get to the gym so I can get an aesthetic physique, so, I can feel good about myself or whatever it is. It's, I wake up and I go to the gym. It's who I am. I'm not wasting any mental energy on it. I just do it. Then I go and I do this. I work hard on this. I'm this type of person. You want to get to that point. Identity change is the driver to get you to that point, because that's what it is. You change your identity. Once you see yourself being a certain way, you act that way. Your brain acts it out. Like I said earlier, your brain will only make you act out in a way that is consistent with what it believes about who you are. Now, the second part I want to speak about in terms of identity change is a more permanent identity change, and it's finding your identity in Christ. I was listening to a sermon by Cliff Nettle where he was speaking about the story of Abraham and the significance of that story, particularly the part where God calls Abraham to go and sacrifice Isaac. And at first read, you're kind of like, oh man, that's kind of messed up. Right? God is testing his faith, but it's kind of messed up. No, it's not. The lesson behind that story, and again, I am fully vomiting this, like word vomit. It's not word vomiting, but I'm literally just spewing exactly what I heard from Cliff Nettle back to you guys. The lesson in the story is that we are supposed to sacrifice every source of security and significance before God. Isaac was, he was Abraham's love. Like, Abraham loved that kid. Because he waited his whole life for him. He was a miracle. He was literally a miracle given to Abraham by God. And God was like, okay, I've given you this amazing miracle because you have shown incredible faith, but now I want to see if you remember who your master is. I want you to see if you remember who your father is. Go sacrifice him for me. And I know for me and for most people who would not do that, it will be very difficult. I don't think I would have the strength to do that. But when you start breaking it down logically, it's stupid. Isaac was a gift given to Abraham by God. So to put Isaac above God is putting the gift above the giver, which doesn't make sense. And that's exactly what God is trying to teach us in that story. He's testing Abraham's faith to be like, remember where everything flows from. We're supposed to give up every source of significance and security up to God. Everything He's given us, and it's difficult. It really is difficult because as humans we look for security and significance wherever we can find it. But it's important to remember that everything we get is from God. So we can never put that above God. It is mighty difficult. It really is. But the reason we should do that, other than what I just explained to you, that it's logical, right? You're not going to put the gift above the giver. It's also the fact that everything you have in your life can be taken away from you. Everything from head to toe. The very fact that your life can be taken away from you should tell you that you can lose everything. Everything you have, everything you think, your legacy. Even people who think, oh, I'm going to die, but I'll have my legacy. Your legacy can be taken away from you. Your children can be taken away from you. Your reputation can be taken away from you. And not to mention all the tangibles, like your house can be taken away from you. Everything can be taken away from you, except God. Because God is permanent. He's Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. And that's what the significance of that story is, teaching us to find our identity. Our identity should be in God and not in the things that God has given us or the things of this world that we have gotten ourselves. The lesson here is that we should be humble under God, right? So tying in with what I was saying about identity, right? Even if anyone comes and says something to slight you, or you get rejected, or things don't go your way, you shouldn't be getting down on yourself. And again, as I'm saying this, I'm preaching to myself, right? You shouldn't be getting down on yourself that, oh, things haven't gone your way, or you've been rejected, or anything like that, because everything you have is because of God. So there should be no pride. There should be no pride in anything. There should be no pride even in who you are, because it's God who created you. Created you fearfully and wonderfully made. From head to toe, it was God who created you. Even your intelligence, that was given by God. Your good looks, that was given by God. Your privilege in terms of like where you live, that was given by everything. Everything you have was given by God. And that's exactly the same lesson that's being taught in the story of Abraham, is everything should be laid down before God because it's Him who gave it to you. He is above. So when you look at life that way, that's why the Bible teaches us to be humble, because there's nothing we have to be proud of, because everything was given by God. So when you get rejected or things don't go your way, or you get like embarrassed, if your identity is in Christ, there's nothing to be ashamed about, because you're nothing. You're literally nothing. Everything we have is given by God. And remembering that everything can be taken away from you except for God. That's important. Our identity is in God. So no matter what happens, right? No matter what happens, you should be fine, because your identity is in God, and God is immovable, right? He's perfect. So if your identity is in Him, right? Thinking back to that song, Christ is my firm foundation. He is a firm foundation, immovable. Everything else can be moved. And it's important that we find our identity in Christ. You guys let me know what you think of the video topic in the comment section below. Make sure you subscribe to join the Self-Improvement Brotherhood. And until next time, see you boys.